All right, so we've gone through, we've done the driver control programming. Now it's time to start taking a look at autonomous. A lot of the autonomous stuff I think people have figured out by taking a look at VEXVR. So I'm going to jump way ahead and take a look at the VEX vision sensor and how we can use it for autonomous routines. Now, in order to get it up and running, I do need to plug the vision sensor directly to the computer via USB. It can't the vision sensor won't work unless it's plugged directly in. It does all the processing itself, so it's like a whole nother level of programming that you need to do. But it's not that hard. So in VEXcode v5, I'm going to click on my devices, and I've already been playing around. I've added a camera to port 9. So once you've got it added into your right port, you can click on configure, and what that's going to do is open up a window with the camera. Okay, so I've got that camera window open now, and you can see in here that you can see a red ketchup bottle, and you can see an orange. Before I get too crazy in here, we can set things around and change them. First thing, it is looking awfully bright, so you can come to your brightness, and you can adjust the brightness for the whole camera till you get to a stage that you like. So obviously that's not going to work. You want to get it to a point where you're starting to see the colors. Now, at competition, you probably want to recalibrate this for every competition because it depends really what the lighting is at the venue you're at. So I've got something I somewhat like. The next thing I need to do is start capturing the items. Now, you can either do this live or you can hit freeze, which takes a still photo, and make a box within the item you want. We're looking at colors. So you don't want to get outside because it might end up being too much range. So I've got that selected. I'm going to click set up here. Let's try that again. Grab that. We're going to set, and you can see how it's selecting. I can go in and I can call this my bottle. Like so. And you can see my bottle is now selected. If I unfreeze it, you can see that it's floating around. If I adjust my brightness, you see that it might lose that color if it's not set properly. So anyway, I've got my bottle set there. Now, if that bottle is to move around, you should be able to see it tracking the bottle. Now, let's set that back down. You'll see on the screen at the top that it says CX 55 in this case, CY 170, W 40-ish, and H 80-ish. It's all bouncing around, but you can see those numbers. So we've got the X and Y. Those are Cartesian coordinates within that camera frame. So if you imagine the lower left-hand corner as 0, and then as you go around, the top left-hand corner would be X0, Y 211, and the lower right corner would be X 315 and Y0, and then the top right hand corner would be X 315, Y 211. So there's a Cartesian plane that's sitting on top of this. Now the dead center, which is what we're going to be using for this one, is X 157 by Y 105. So that's giving us the center orientation. Now what we have here is we have a center orientation for the bottle itself, which currently is sitting at X55, Y170. Now I can move my robot within that, and you can see that it's moving around. Now I've got the camera centered on my claw, so I know that eventually I want the center of that bottle to be at 157. I can also add other things into the camera. I'll do this one live. So I've got my orange, and I can set the orange too, so I can do multiple colors at any time. I can't use the word orange because it's a color and it uses the colors in other areas, so we'll call it fruit. You can see that it's tracking both of these things now, and it can track any number of these things as we go. So with that set up, make sure at this point you write down the item that you want. Now, the other thing is not only can this tell where something is on a Cartesian plane, it is measuring that width and height. So eventually, I want to have my robot drive and pick this bottle up. If I move the bottle into the pickup location, which is right there, I can take a look and I can get a bit more information. So you can see how it's still tracking the bottle. But at this point, I can see that the overall width is about 170. So width 170, I'm just going to write that down so I know when I get into coding. But I can also play around with this a little bit and just see what other values I'm getting. So like that's not quite close enough. And the width there is 110. As it moves into the front of the claw, that changes. Now it's not quite centered. So that's centered in the frame. So you can see how it's working there. Let's move that back out of the way. With my information, I can now start writing some programming with this. I could choose to program the orange, but I know that the current robot configuration that I've got won't pick that up. All right, so I'm going to close this now. And that brings me back to my system. Let's move this to the side for a second. Once I'm done configuring it, I can click Done, and that's going to add some vision sensing systems into the mix here. We'll put this guy back, like so. I think we're going to leave that video there now that we've seen how this camera works, and we'll come back and sort out how we actually program with that information in the next video.